I'm just going to talk a little bit about goals today. And I need you guys to know I did a PowerPoint presentation for you, but I'm super long-winded, and apparently my PowerPoints are too, because it's like huge paragraphs. So don't bother taking notes. You're not going to be able to write it down. But the reason that I decided to talk about setting goals is because I'm currently reading a book called The Charge by Brendan Burchard. And he says that there's like 10 different areas of your life that can really light you up inside and help you to live a charged life. And challenges, also known as goals, are one of them. And I personally set a really big, challenging goal for myself this year that I just completed. So, when I was doing that, I followed his tips. So I just wanted to kind of share them with you. I'm going to screen share. And just let me know when you can see it, somebody. Okay. I need to change this though. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So, so the first tip that he says is to make goals that really challenge you. If you think about it, especially if you're me, getting your laundry done can be a goal, but that's not going to light up my life. It's not going to make me a happier person or really change the course of my life at all. So he doesn't even refer to goals as goals. He refers to them as challenges. So when you set challenging goals, you're stretching your efforts and abilities. And the point of doing that is to kind of grow yourself as a person. So when I decided to run a marathon, I had already previously set the goal to run a half marathon. And the first time I did it, I completely failed. I made it to mile 10 and both of my calf muscles just completely gave out. They were like rocks. I couldn't run. I could barely stand up. Like I thought I was going to fall and smash my face on a rock. It was really bad. And I walked most of the way in after that. And I was really, really disappointed, and I didn't think I would ever even try again. But last fall I did. So I ran my first successful half marathon, and it was a really awesome moment. I did it with friends, and that race atmosphere, if you're not a runner, you may not understand, but if you are, then you get it. It just completely fires you up. So it was really exciting to me, but when I left, I couldn't move for a week, and I told myself I would never, ever run further than that. But as a person, my goal is to always be growing and challenging myself and reaching for bigger, better things. And it wasn't actually too much longer after that I started to think about a full marathon. And I signed up for it in February and started training then. So I definitely was reaching beyond my current capabilities. I knew it was something that was really going to challenge me and stretch my abilities and make me grow as a person. And it was also going to take a long time. It was something I wasn't just going to be able to flippantly do on the side. I had to really focus on it, follow the schedule, do it even when I didn't want to do it. I ran in the snow. I ran in the rain. I ran when it was 100 degrees out. All that stuff. So did I feel alive, engaged, and connected like he says I should? Well, mostly. Sometimes I felt dead. But it was an experience, that's for sure. He gave 5 qualities of engaging goals. The first one is singularity of focus. So like I just said, I really couldn't just let it go. I had to really focus on it, and that was really my only physical goal at the time. I stretched my efforts and my capabilities. I was able to score my performance as I went along. I had a sense of completion at the finish line, and I was able to share my experience and achievement, but I'll go into details about those qualities. So, singularity of focus. All it means is really that it requires your full and undivided attention. I can tell you right now, I only ran 4 days a week, but on the days that I was not running, I was already planning the next run. When you're running long distances like that, a marathon is 26 miles. You have to think about fuel, and you have to eat on the run, which is totally different than anything I had ever done in my life. So it was a lot of planning, trying different things, learning new stretches, that kind of stuff. It also has to be engaging mentally and physically. I'm sure you can all make the connection how training for a marathon would be physically engaging. I was not prepared for what a mental game it was going to be, though. It was the only way that I can really describe it is sort of like when I was in labor for Ben, okay? I was in labor for 32 hours, and it was horrible, and it was unmedicated, and I wanted to die, but I couldn't stop it. The pain, no, it's not that bad. I can't say it is, but it's horrible. It felt like somebody was stretching my skeleton apart, but it was worse than that mentally because I could stop if I just chose to. It was forcing myself to keep going even when I really needed and wanted to stop. So definitely mentally engaging and challenging. And it was also important to me. And I can't really say like what about it made it so important. It was just something that kind of got into my belly and into my heart. And I decided I really wanted it and that I was going to go for it. And also I knew it was time sensitive for me. I live a really busy life. My husband and I have some future plans that could get in the way of running a marathon, you know, in the future or shortly. And I'm not getting any younger. I'm 32 years old. So it was kind of like, well, if I'm going to do this, now's the time. So let's just do it. The second part is to stretch your effort and your capability. I kind of brushed over, well, I told you that I had already done a half marathon. If you, like for me, obviously I was running. If I had never run before, I wasn't going to make a marathon my goal. So when you're creating a goal, you don't want it to be something so huge and so new and so different that it's going to become completely overwhelming to you, because all that's going to do is scare you away and make you run. Even this, Noelle knows, Julie and the girls on my team know, it was tough for me mentally. It became overwhelming for me. Unfortunately, there's no races between a half marathon and a marathon. So I kind of had to go to that next level. But when you're creating a goal, you don't want it to be so over the top that you run away from it. So if you're talking about skill levels 1 to 10, if you're at a skill level 1 right now, your goal at the end should be to grow yourself to a level 2 or a 3. You don't want to set a goal for yourself that brings you from a 1 to a 10, because it's not necessarily obtainable. It's not that it's not obtainable, but probably not right away. Also, when I was setting my goals for my marathon, I didn't set any time goals at all. I really just wanted to finish with a little bit of dignity, and I wanted to be able to say that I did it. Not belly crawling over the finish line, but actually running. And I did that. If I ever do another one, then I will have time goals, and that's how I'll stretch my limits further from there. Another really important part of setting a good goal for yourself is score performance. Like any of us, when we're doing a fitness program, unless you've decided not to do your measurements or your weight until the very end, I know for me, I usually do it weekly. That's a way of scoring your performance, to see how well you're doing, how far you've come, what your progress is looking like. And that's actually kind of really important because it helps to motivate you. When you see that you're being successful, it's like a hit of motivation. Unfortunately, for some people like me, my weight doesn't really change. So it doesn't provide that hit of motivation that I need, but my measurements always do. So I do my measurements. And while I was training for the marathon, I did a long run every weekend, and every weekend it got longer and longer. The very first one, I think, was only 5 miles, and my last one was 20. So I had never previously run more than 14 miles at a time before I started training for the marathon. So after I hit the 14-mile mark, I'm not going to lie, like, that whole week I would stress about my next long run. But that was my score performance. Am I getting better? Let's see how I do next weekend. When I stretch my limits, did I do it? Yes, I did it. I was improving. So anytime that you are going to set a goal, you want to break it down into smaller chunks where you can score how well you're doing, or like a halfway point. And every goal should have a sense of completion. So the way that, like, I like to think about it, okay, so if you have this huge goal to, like, end poverty, that's not, you could toil away at that for your entire life, but you'll never have a sense of completion. There's no way for you to really feel finished or complete. And if you don't feel complete, you're never gonna stick with it. You know what I mean? A goal must have a finish line. It's incredibly important to keep you motivated and to keep you going while you are in the midst of the challenge. So I obviously had a race date and a time and a place and an actual physical finish line with my marathon. But it was 4 months of really hard training, and it was stressing me out so much. I was going to the doctor because I was having physical discomfort. They had what I thought nothing to do with training for a marathon. I thought there was something really wrong with me, and my doctor pretty much told me it was my body's way of telling me that I was super stressed over what I was doing to it. So without that date, that impending marathon date, there's no way that I would have kept going. I would have stopped long before the marathon. And I'm not sure if everybody follows me or not, but those of you who do, they know that when I went to run that marathon, the weather was horrible. It was chucking it down rain the entire time from start to the time they pulled us off the course. So I was about 10 and a half miles in. It was hailing. Parts of the road were washed right out, and they made us stop. So after all that training and months of pain and pushing myself, I wasn't even allowed to finish. And I was devastated, and I no longer had a finish line. And Junalee can tell you, I went back and forth about what to do. I had no idea what to do. The thought of continuing my training just, like, devastated me. I was so ready for it to be over. I had that date and that finish line in my mind for so long. That's what got me through. And all of a sudden that was gone from me, and yet I hadn't completed my goal. I had no sense of completion. I had no finish line, and I was a complete mess. And unfortunately, marathons don't really happen in the summertime very often. They're more October through April. So I had signed up for, like, the very last one. So I decided, I talked to the director, and he told me that he would open it up as a virtual race for me. And I went and I ran the course on my own as soon as I could possibly do it. As soon as I had a day where I knew my husband was there to support me, I had childcare for the 4 kids lined up, and I had a friend who actually said that he would run with me. So I had that date, and I had to set it right away. Otherwise, there was no way I was going to finish. And that's what I did. The last one is to share your experience and your achievement. as coaches, we are always encouraged to share, and some of us are good at it. Some of us, like myself, struggle with it. I'm a private person. So that in and of itself is a goal for me, mostly, is to always keep sharing and stuff like that. And I'm really happy in this light that I did. I shared my entire journey of training for 4 months, and I was really surprised by the positive feedback. Like my health and fitness posts, like I have my group that like it and comment on it, but whenever it was a marathon training post, I had reached a new distance or whatever, I was always blown away by the amount of love and support that it received. And that really motivated me to keep going, because now I knew that the world was watching me and they were rooting me on. And that really meant a lot to me. During the actual marathon, for those 10.5 miles that I did it was a social experience. So that really, really, really pushed me. And those 10.5 miles, I didn't even feel them. I felt like I could keep going forever when they pulled me off the course, even though I was a drowned rat. And that just goes to show you that sharing your experience, reaching these huge achievements and goals, it's supposed to be a social experience. That's what really puts the icing on the cake for you. Because when I did it with my buddy all on my own, I have to tell you that the first 10 miles were probably the hardest. And then the really hardest were 22 to 25. Those miles were horrible. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So even when it's difficult to share, I really do highly encourage it, even if it's just your spouse, to let them know what your goal is, somebody to keep you motivated and to keep rooting you on. And also, because I was sharing everything so openly with everybody, I did have a family member go to WKTV who did a broadcast about it, which I have to say, it was highly inaccurate. And I was pretty embarrassed about it. But at the end of the day, like, the message that it said really did make me feel good. And it was very, very gratifying to me in the end. So I can say to try to focus on the journey rather than the destination. Like I said, I got overwhelmed and stressed out, and I was making myself sick over it. And that's because when I could only run 16 miles, I was stressing out about running 26 miles. I wasn't focusing primarily on the journey at hand, on getting my body from 16 to 26. Instead, I was wondering, how the heck was I going to do it? Even though I had my schedule that showed me exactly how I was going to do it, and I just had to have faith and trust in my own journey and in my body. Enjoy it, live it, learn from it. Celebrate the effort just as much as you do your results. Even if in the end you don't reach your goal, your effort needs to be celebrated. Don't fear rejection or failure. I should have added that, or failure. The number one thing that holds people back when they're setting really big, challenging goals is the fear that they're going to be rejected, whether it be from the people that they love saying that, you're crazy, you can't do that, or why would you want to do that? I heard that a million times. Why would you do that? I don't really know. But also the fear of failure, that overwhelmed for me. How am I going to make my body run for 26.2 miles? Don't let it stop you, okay? The average number of meaningful, life-altering rejections that people receive throughout their life is 7. I can think already of 2 that I've had, 2 that have altered my life. At the time, I can think of one specifically that I didn't think I would ever get over. But in the end, I'm going to tell you right now, it led to me coaching. So sometimes, even if it is a rejection or quote unquote a failure, it's not necessarily a failure, okay? The average number of times we are encouraged and praised is literally thousands. So don't let those judgments or those rejections or your fear of failure discourage you. This quote is super duper long, but I really, really like it, so I'm going to read it to you. Or you can read it to yourself, but probably won't write it down. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end he triumphs, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that this place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. So I've read that to myself so many times, especially while I was training for this marathon. And I'm in a group called the Pathetic Runners Group, and it's an awesome interest group on Facebook. And there are people there who cannot yet run a mile, and there's people there who run the 100-mile ultra, trail runs. So I posted in there about my overwhelm and my fear and how it was making me sick and how I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish. And I had somebody respond to me personally who said, what is it exactly that you're so afraid of? Like, if you go for this, what is the absolute worst outcome that can happen? And if that happens, is it really that bad? And that kind of just reminds me of this quote. Like, okay, if it doesn't work out, if you don't reach your goal, at least you can know that you tried. You did everything that you could. Where if you don't even try, you'll just never know. You'll never know if you can do it. I just wanted to throw this in real quick, but it probably should have been in the beginning. There's 3 types of goals. Personal development, which is just any goal that's real personal to you. I listed a few examples. So my marathon would be under personal development. And then there's social, and that's anything that requires you to improve your interactions with other human beings, your listening skills, if you're working on forgiving somebody, if you're working on acceptance, leadership, anything like that. And then giving, all of the world issues, social issues would fall under there. I do have a mini challenge for you guys. So within the group, it'll be worth 5 points. Did I just freeze? Okay, sorry. It said that my internet connection was unstable. Anyway, take out a piece of paper, and this doesn't have to be at this very moment. You can do it tonight or anytime within the next few days. Take out a piece of paper, draw 12 boxes on the page. Each box will represent 1 month of a year. And inside each box, write a 1 to 4 word description of a goal that you're going to take on during that month. From there, I want you to take the first month, the one that you want to start working on first, whether that be for July or August, and break it up into a few different measurable goals. So for my marathon, it was 4 months. The biggest goal besides for the marathon itself was getting through that 20-mile unsupported run. So that would be one. And another one would have been the 18-mile mark, because anything after 16 miles is horrible. So just getting past that would be another one. But you see what I'm saying? Break it down. So unlike what I was doing, don't stare at the 26 miles in the face. Break it down and look at each run as a goal. Obviously, whatever your goal is. And then post your first month's goal into the group. And also include those breakdowns, okay? Even if it's only broken down once or twice, something for you to measure along the way. And that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
You did great, Court.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Amazing.
I can't get my screen to come back to normal.
I know. I'm trying to figure that out too. I just stop screen share.
Okay.
Should be located at the bottom of your.
I can't get the bottom of it to come up though. It's just like the top.
Okay, it's fine. It's whatever.
I don't know what's going on.
Everybody can take a good hard look at this challenge.
Don't miss a thing. Oh no, how weird. Hold on.
I'm really excited about this, though.
I got it. Sorry.
Oh, woo! You did it.
Right now.
Okay, let's switch to gallery view. Did anybody have any questions or want to make any comments? I'm so excited about it, first of all. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one, but just hearing your description, I know that I was one of those people that's like, why do you want to run a marathon? But I would like to point out that I said it with awe and that I was impressed by the idea that somebody would want to run that much.
No. I don't know a single person who would be put somebody down for a goal like that. You know what I mean?
No.
There was a lot of that. Why? Even my husband, who I signed up to do it with me, but he obviously didn't do it or train for it. But he actually went up to 12 miles, and then he was like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah. I was just hearing about your actual what you go through to train for it. It just makes me so pathetic that I'm dreading my 2-mile run tomorrow morning.
You're not.
Come on, Noelle.
Marathon training has kind of made me like that. So you and I are more on the same wavelength.
I can imagine. Jeez. So just that one line that you said, having faith and trust in your own journey, it just kind of hit me because just the idea that you put your own, that word own in that, because I feel like so many people in this business and in anything, I mean, in terms of weight loss, you do a program that somebody else did and somebody else lost 10 pounds and you lost 2 pounds, but you feel great until you hear about somebody else's results, or be it anything to do with coaching and the business and stuff like that. I think just having faith and trust in your own journey and what it's supposed to mean for you and in your life and in your business. And I think it's so important for us to focus on right now, especially because the reason so many of us are falling off with the coaching aspect and the business aspect is because we stopped focusing on our own selves and treating our own selves the way that we need to treat ourselves, not worried about how other people are doing things. So I just threw that line really. I starred it 5 times.
Yeah, it was really poignant for me too, because with feeling drawn to starting at the gym, I started feeling like I was cheating on Beachbody or something. I know a lot of coaches go to the gym, but I didn't know how it was gonna fit in with, coaching and all that. But I feel like it's a challenge that's it's good for me, personal growth, because it's pushing me outside of my bubble that I'm comfortable with, and it's I'm learning new stuff.
Yeah.
The way that you worded everything.
I think that it's cool, Carrie, to have something like that, because you can always look back and be like, well, it's because of coaching where I started getting interested in fitness anyways. And that moving that to the gym, I mean, you always have your DVDs to fall back on in case you don't want to go to the gym that day or whatever.
Yeah, which has happened a couple of times already, just not being able to make it. And and then I've already, mentioned on Facebook, that 21 Day Fix is where I started. And, it's easy to tie it all in, I think, especially for people who know me and know how I was before Beachbody, and to see it the progression. I think it's
Yeah.
neat for other
And
people.
that's like so key too, is that this business does not have to look the same for every person in order to like consider yourself a successful coach. And I think that it's so easy to get caught up in that, and that like you see, like you follow a coach and you love that coach and like that's your idol in this business or whatever, and you think that your business has to look like that coach's business in order to be successful because that's what you consider a successful person. But if you do that, you kind of lose yourself and you lose the reason why you started coaching in the first place, which is to enhance your life. It's not to live somebody else's life. It's not to try to be somebody else in this business. It's just to enhance your life however that looks for you.
Mhm.
So
Good job, Courtney.
yeah, I think it was a really great call. I think that there was a lot of really good points that it never hurts to have it drilled into your head.
Or to read paragraphs.
I know. I was like mid-writing and then you flip the thing and I was like, oh, and then start writing.
I'm just like that too with PowerPoint presentations. I feel like I have to write it all down. And I was looking at this and I was like, oh my God, this is going to drive people insane. Sorry about that.
You're so funny. Good thing it's recorded, right? Does anybody else have any questions, or we can thank Courtney and call it a night, and we'll see you guys. We're supposed to be doing Monday nights, so hopefully next week we're switching back. We'll have the 9 p.m. on Monday night. We'll be Juna Lee talking about vision, so that's going to be awesome. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Have a good night, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow night too on the team call. Okay, good night.